Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So the manufacturing here in the United States has dropped dramatically. And the home builders' confidence, the home builders' confidence index had the biggest 1 month drop ever. So this is going to be huge. As we continue into this coronavirus pandemic, we are going to continue to see economic downturns of mass proportions. This is going to get really bad. And, I'm trying not to be the fearmonger and things. I'm trying to be, more insightful and logical into what's going on here. But I was reading an article, and I don't even know if it was really an article or what. It came from simplifyingthemarket.com. I've never heard of this before, but anyway, I found this writing that this author had done talking about how house prices were going to stay elevated. And I have a tendency to disagree with this. I think the house prices are going to drop, and they're going to drop dramatically. Now, the argument that they used was pretty good, because they pretty much said that during the last few recessions, and I think they went back to like the 70s on it, they said there was really only two recessions that saw a downturn in house prices. One of them was the 1990-91 Gulf War, and the other one was the 2007 through 2009. Now, we're all familiar with the Great Financial Crisis, and it was pretty much the housing market that drug down the economy. But the argument that they were using is that during the Great Financial Crisis, prior to that recession, there was a mass buildup of houses, and there was a flood of these homes out there that had been built. And when when the recession came in, all these houses out there, there was just no buyers for them, and the price started to drop. Now, that was a little simplified from what they had it a little bit more detailed, and I'll leave links down in the description for that article. But what I am feeling is that even though the buildup of homes wasn't nearly as dramatic here prior to this recession, the prices are still going to drop dramatically. And the reason is that if you think about like what was taking place with the house prices prior to the recession and wages. So we had the greatest or the lowest unemployment in 60 years, 50 years, whatever it was. At the same time, home prices were rising faster than the wages were. So think about it like this. Even though we had very low unemployment, the prices of the houses and the homes were exceeding what the capabilities of the people were during that time. So there was articles that were written, and the Federal Reserve did they call it a beige book. It's like a quarterly report that they do talking about like the different areas of the country and what they're seeing as far as parts of the economy go. And I did a video on this. There was a time when there was so many people ghosting their jobs that it ended up in the beige book, in that Federal Reserve beige book. So these were people who just simply thought, man, there's plenty of jobs out there. I don't need your job. I'm just going to bail out. I'm not going to even tell my boss that I'm leaving. I'm not going to tell the other employees. I'm just going to bail out. They literally ghosted their job. And I put a video out saying you shouldn't do that. You should tell your boss, give them 2 weeks notice, and to have a rapport with your boss. And right now, as the unemployment is skyrocketing, I bet you a lot of those people are wishing they hadn't done that. Especially if they had given up an essential job. But going back to these house prices, I feel that the house prices are going to come down to meet the capabilities of the people who are buying homes. And as this pandemic ends, because it will at some point eventually end, and the jobs start coming back and the unemployment begins to drop, the employers out there are going to have the best employees for the cheapest price during that time. Because so many people are going to be looking for work, the guy here will be willing to do the same job, maybe even better, for less than that guy over there. And this is what the employers are going to have to pick from, is a huge pool of people who are unemployed. So the wages are going to be a lot lower than they were going into the financial crisis, or going into this recession, which is going to turn into a financial crisis. So it's not just the fact that there was less homes being built going into this recession. It's the capabilities of the people to be able to afford a home that's going to bring the house prices down. Not to mention that, and it's like credit cycles. So going into this recession, credit was becoming easier and easier for people to get in order to buy a home. If you could go down and put no money down or very little money down, I think they were like, what was the average like down payment? Was like 3% or something like that. It was a very low down payment. Now in order to get a home, you're looking at 20% down, and you have to have a 700 or a 750 credit score in order to get into one of these homes. And the reason is that the mortgage lenders out there are in crisis right now. See, a lot of people don't realize how the mortgage market works. When you go to one of these non-bank banks to get a loan, one of these, mortgage companies, those guys don't really have the money. They borrow the money themselves. And right now, they're sitting in a situation where it's hard for them to get the money. And then the mortgage-backed securities that they package up and sell are not selling as nearly as profitably as they were prior to the recession kicking in. And the Federal Reserve, they're buying these mortgage-backed securities, but not necessarily they're buying all of them. So the investment group that's handling these mortgage services and the mortgage business in general is in turmoil. There's a lot of whirlwind going on. And and I've done many videos on this before, so just go back into the last few videos that I've done and you can see what's going on with some of these mortgage lenders out there and the whole mortgage business in general. So when we come out of this and people are going to look for buying homes again, those house prices are going to have to come down to meet the capabilities of the people who are now getting jobs again and working. So the only people who are going to be able to do this are people who have good credit scores and have a substantial down payment. And that's not going to be the majority of America out there. A lot of these people who are asking for forbearance right now and asking for, leniency on the rent and stuff like that, they either need to come up with that money at the end of all this, or they're going to start foreclosing on their homes, or they're going to get evicted, or whatever is going to happen to them if they do not have a job and can't start paying. There's no free ride. And it's not like the government can just cover all these rents and, mortgage payments and stuff like that. Although a lot of people believe that's going to happen, there is no free ride, and eventually it comes to an end. And when that happens, house prices are going to get very volatile, and they're probably going to drop down dramatically. So being in a position in which you have a substantial down payment and really good credit is going to do very well for those people who are looking to buy a home here in the future. How long this takes, I don't know. And what actions the Federal Reserve and the government take, again, we don't know. But this stimulus checks that everybody's starting to get in their bank accounts now, this was meant to jumpstart the economy, and that's not going to take place. People are either going to hoard that money for one and hold on to it because they know bad times are coming, or they're going to pay off debt, or they're going to use it to pay their bills. But as far as sparking economic activity, it's not going to happen. These stimulus checks are far too small in order to jumpstart the economy again. Anyway, I'll leave links down in the description for a bunch of these articles. Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know.